Sneha, good evening. To you, since you've tracked this beat so closely, you've tracked the fight against COVID so closely, why is this such a monumental moment really for India in the fight against this virus?
Thanks, Akshata. First of all, there is some amount of hesitancy when it comes to the vaccine. A lot of people are reluctant, and that's the reason why this is important. The nasal vaccine is going to have an impact on the nasal passage. That's from where the infection essentially starts. So essentially, it's going to block the passage of the entry point of the virus, and that's the reason why it's so important. We've spoken about the advantages. It's painless. Also, it's important to point out that nasal vaccines all over the world, for example, the kind that was experimented for influenza, not for COVID, had serious side effects like facial paralysis. However, for this particular one, in India, when the trial was done, let me tell you that the side effects are really limited to, some sort of wheezing, your, runny nose, some discomfort around your, in terms of your headache. But beyond that, there isn't anything much to worry about. However, let me also just, sort of add a caveat. The trial has been done. The results have been given to us by the company in question, which is Bharat Biotech. However, I'd really want more efficacy data on this. Whatever has been said by Bharat Biotech essentially isn't peer-reviewed. Essentially, this is for administration under emergency situations, like all vaccines that are being used against COVID-19 all over the world. But the criticism is that why isn't there more data? What about the efficacy data? And that is something that should be looked at. However, in comparison to the other vaccines that are being given out right now, this in general is considered to be the safest. And that's what everybody is really looking at. However, it's not also going to be given to children. So that is one development that would really help us in our fight against COVID. Given that originally, like I told you today, it was designed for children. In my conversations earlier with Dr. Ella, I told you about this, Akshita.
Yeah.
He did say that he's seeing this pandemic, this disease, pan out in such a way that people across the world will be affected. And his vision is to have a vaccine which can be given like polio drops is given. And that's why he wants to work in the direction of developing a nasal vaccine. In that sense, for a top scientist like Dr. Krishna Ella, that really is a dream come true.
It's a huge, huge achievement, huge accomplishment. There's one point that you mentioned also about how this is being perceived globally, and I'll be addressing that in just a bit with you, Sneha. In the meanwhile, I'd also like to introduce on this broadcast Dr. Harsh Mahajan, who's the founder of Mahajan Imaging. Dr. Mahajan, thank you very much for joining us here on India Today. Really appreciate you taking the time out to join us because, as far as nasal vaccines are concerned, there is still a bit of hesitancy, which is why I felt the need to actually put out some very basic questions that hopefully you can answer for us, and thereby our viewers are more educated and aware about nasal vaccines. I'll just quickly put out those 5 questions listed out for our viewers. The first FAQ is, when do I take the nasal vaccine? We've kept these questions as basic as possible. Can I administer the nasal vaccine to myself? Because the way everyone imagines it is that you use it almost like a nasal spray. Does the nasal vaccine provide immunity long term? Will I suffer any side effects after getting a nasal vaccine? This is an important one because I saw a lot of questions doing the rounds about this. And should I pick a nasal vaccine over a regular vaccine? These are the 5 questions we're going to be answering for you, focusing on the first question. Dr. Mahajan, when should I go ahead and get a nasal vaccine? When do I take the nasal vaccine? Is it supposed to be the 3rd precaution dose? Is it supposed to be the 4th booster dose? Can you throw some light on that first, sir?
Yes, surely. Thank you, Akshata, and good evening to all your viewers. The government has made it very clear that the approval given currently is for this vaccine to be used only as a precautionary dose in those above 18 years of age. So if you've already had a precautionary dose, then you cannot avail of this. It is only those people who already had 2 doses, either of Covishield or of Covaxin, and in some cases maybe the Sputnik V vaccine, they are the ones who are eligible for getting this precautionary dose. As you know, only about 28 to 30% of people who had both the doses got the precautionary dose, and then because COVID, it appeared, had gone down, people were very hesitant to get it. So those are the people who are eligible.
Okay.